Welcome back to Family Twist. I'm Kendall, and today's episode is one I've been really looking forward to. We're joined by actor, writer, and producer Lisa Brenner, who has a brand new film called One Big Happy Family, hitting AMC theaters on Friday, October 3rd. The movie springs from Lisa's own DNA surprise, learning at 40 that her dad wasn't her biological father, and instead of shying away from the shock, she did something bold. She turned it into a comedy. And for those of you who grew up watching Alice like Corey and I did, this film also has a very special legacy. It's the final performance of the legendary Linda Lavin. We are huge fans of hers, and what an honor it must have been for Lisa to collaborate with her. Lisa, thank you for being here with us. We can't wait to talk about your story, your film, and the beautiful way you've woven humor into the most difficult parts of family discovery.
Hey, Lisa, welcome to the Family Twist podcast.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. So excited to talk to you about this movie. But before we do, can we sort of get into the backstory, like the inspiration behind the movie? And if you could sort of just share your story?
Yes. I'd always believed that for some reason, since I was a little girl, that for some reason when you turned 40, your life was going to change. It was just a weird thing that I just always had in my head, like when I saw the timeline of my life. Some of your listeners may know that when you turn 40, really nothing happens, except it's another day in the calendar. However, around the time I turned 40, I did this DNA test for the fun of it. It was about a month after I turned 40 that I found out that my father wasn't my father. And my life completely changed. I had this crazy story. And as most of us who have been through this know, your life really does completely change. Who you are completely changes. Your identity completely changes. Your family changes. So I just felt the need to write about it. And here we are.
Wow. It's just wild that with the seemingly fun thing to do, like let's learn about where we're from and how it just turns your world upside down.
Yeah.
Is your raising father still with us?
He's not. Unfortunately, my father passed away in 1996. So he died before I found out, because I think it would have been really, really crushing for him to have to go through this. I don't want to give too much away about the movie, but yeah, my father is not genetically my father. I'm not sure of the terms. My raising father is not. I'm starting to learn all of these terms like NPE. I've never heard before.
It's all been new for us too, and Kendall and I are gay men in our 50s. And so that language has changed since we came up. I've been trying to keep up with all the different pronouns and everything. And then we get into this world and it's like, I'd never heard of NPE or MPE, hadn't really thought about donor conception or anything like that. And just the shock and awe of this type of discovery.
Yeah.
I think what you're hinting at is that your raising father did not know that you were not his.
Well, you see, that is what is up for debate. So back in the late 60s, when she did this medical procedure she did in vitro, apparently there was so much secrecy around it and so much shame surrounding it that the doctors really didn't explain what they were doing to my mom. What they had told my mother was that we're going to do this little medical procedure on you, go home, have relations with your husband, and the baby will be your husband's baby. So she just kind of believed that. And when I was born, I looked just like my dad, my raising father, talk like him, I think like him. It was never a question in her mind to say, wait, but the genetics and the DNA, and they just didn't think that way at that time. So, I mean, it's really interesting. My mom did this procedure. She trusted her doctor, and I was born. And I have a brother and sister in my real life, and we were all conceived that way. And it was just kind of a means to an end, not the way like donor using in vitro is now, where it's go through you go through a book and, a catalog of donors and choose who you feel is the best. match. It was just so different then. So I don't know how much my father was involved in it, how much he really knew about it. It's hard to put our modern brains on how they thought back then.
Right.
So it was a long time ago.
Well, I think it's fantastic that a lot of people having these discoveries or are writing books or doing podcasts, blog posts and stuff. But to decide to turn your story or a fictionalized version of your story into a comedy, I think is genius because so many of our stories are tragic. And so to be able to look at it through a different lens, a comedic lens, I think is going to be really helpful and healing for the community. Now, I've not seen the movie yet, but a friend has, and she's like, oh my gosh, it was so good. Loved it.
Thank you. I think you will like it. But yeah, when I first went through the discovery, it did feel tragic. It took me many years to work through this with therapists and many discussions with my mom and just leaving no stone unturned. When I started to write it, it did feel very melodramatic. It felt very sad. And then I decided I love my mother so much. My mom is my best friend in the world. Isn't that the most important thing about life? The love of your parents, the person who raised you. I didn't want this movie to give that legacy. I didn't want to bash her. She did what she had to do. And I really, really hope that when people in the community see it, they do feel a little uplifted, that it's maybe not such a tragic, bad thing after all. You know, all the NPs, we're all conceived in very different circumstances. So I guess some are pretty sad and tragic, as I've been talking to so many people across the country about this. But in my situation, I was able to find the humor in it just because that's just kind of me. I look at life in every situation like I'm kind of like either Larry David or Seinfeld the way I go through my life, like looking how the insanity of just daily life. And that's what I was trying to bring to this.
Yeah, same. I mean, I think especially these days, like how can we get through things, get through the day without some kind of outlet of, comedy, humor,
Yeah, and also there is so much heaviness and sadness and division in the world right now.
Right.
A major theme of this movie really is about unity and saying we are all one. It's like you can't be racist, you can't be homophobic, you can't be anti-Semitic, you can't like anti-anything because you might actually be that.
Right.
That might be your brother.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
that is actually what happened to me. I mean, you'll have to see it. It's wild.
Oh, I'm very much looking forward to it. So how did you decide how much of your real story was going to be in the movie?
Well, it's pretty much my real story. I definitely do take some poetic license, but my story goes in so many different directions, and it did in real life. It spanned about 6 years. I consolidated in the movie for 2 weeks, but it really is like 6 years. My real story is so much more than the movie, and it is so crazy who the donor was. His whole life is a whole story, and his many marriages is one story, and then his donating is a story, and all of my biological brothers and sisters that he created, that's a story. And it's just trying to hone in, okay, what am I trying to say with this? I think I was able to kind of consolidate it. I might need a part 2.
How many siblings do you have?
I lost count, and I think about 6 donor conceived ones that I know of. And then the donor had, I think, 9 children just from marriages.
9.
So I have a lot of siblings, but it got so out of control and out of I don't even care anymore. I actually deleted all my data from the first test that I took. And that test also went bankrupt. That was kind of easy, but it got to a point where it's like, okay, I know this is my story. what is the most important thing. It was just every day I was getting more alerts. Now I have a fourth cousin. Now I have a fifth cousin. And I lost track.
Yeah. It can be overwhelming.
It
Absolutely.
is. Yeah.
So getting back to the movie and your mom, how much is she like Linda Lavin?
It's funny when I watch it, I feel like it's very different, Linda's portrayal of my mom. But when people in my family, they're like, "Oh my God, Linda is your mom." Linda is such an incredible actress. She was an incredible actress. This was her last movie. She took my material that I wrote and just elevated it to a whole other level. She never played the stereotype. She is the Jewish mother. And if you meet my mom in real life, you'd be like, okay, I get the stereotype. But Linda never played that. She found such depth, she just elevated she chose what she wanted to wear, her necklaces, like everything was so carefully thought out that she created her own thing. And I do want to stress this movie is not an autobiography. It's fiction. So there is a lot in this movie that's not true, but then the part of it is true.
Right.
Yeah.
Certainly inspired by your story.
Yes.
It had to be a very challenging decision, I think, to play, because as you said, your mother is so important to you. What was it like the first time you locked eyes with Linda?
Well, when I was writing it, it's just so funny. The man who cuts my hair, he just happened to work on the show that Linda was a star on. It's called Be Positive. It was a CBS sitcom. And he would always tell me these stories about her. And I don't know if my phone picked up our conversation. Phones do that.
Mm-hmm.
Instagram started recommending me to follow Linda Lavin. So I'm like, oh, sounds like a great person. And I knew she was Jewish, and I definitely wanted to cast a real Jewish person to play my Jewish mother, because that's always been a thing. That's always bothered me growing up when non-Jews play Jewish roles. But so I started following her, and I could not believe her personality, her talent. She's a jazz musician touring the world in her 80s. She was in Paris one weekend, London one weekend. She's in Mexico. She's in New Mexico. She's in Costa Rica. I'm like, oh my God, this woman is incredible. So I just fell in love with her just by her posts. And when it came down to casting, I wrote her a letter and I sent it to her agent with the script. And I just told her there is no one that could play this role, I believe, like she would. And she responded the next day, and we did a Zoom, and she was in.
That kind of thing doesn't happen.
Usually it takes years, and you're begging and pleading, but this was so meant to be. And we became really like a real mother and daughter. Like we had such a deep connection. And then she just tragically passed away.
Yeah, I mean, that was a shocker for us. And I think I mentioned to you in an email that Kendall and I have started rewatching Alice. We watched an episode last night. We're watching like one a week or something like that. And it's just like, wow. I mean, just the whole cast was amazing, but she's just like, you feel like her coming through the screen,
And such a great role model for that time. The single mother working on her own. That's just who she is. She's such a strong woman that you're just in awe of her. She was a feminist way before feminism. Very political, very strong, just an awesome human. I remember being a little girl watching Alice and just seeing a strong woman being portrayed was so inspiring.
Absolutely. Yeah. She was a gift for sure.
Yeah.
So were you there with your mother the first time your mother watched the movie?
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes. Well, the first time we saw it together, it was on like a small laptop computer together. It was when it was finally just cut together. And I'm like, you have to watch it. And oddly, there is a storyline in the movie about tattoos. So my mom had asked me, this is real life. She said for her birthday, she wanted to get matching tattoos with me. Let me remind you, my mom was turning 83. So when your 83-year-old mother, who's your best friend in the world, asks you for a tattoo, you do it. So we've had a appointment to get tattoos. And first we watched the movie. So it was like, we're like crying together and hugging. And then we got tattoos together.
That's a day with your mom.
Exactly. Not difficult, but she loves the movie and she's so proud of it. And she's so proud that Linda's portraying her. And that meant so much to me to have my mother's blessing to tell her story, basically. It's not only my story, it's her story too. And I'm really grateful that she allowed me to use her story for this piece of fiction, which is also why I wanted it to be uplifting and happy. Because if it's going to be about her legacy as well, my mom's very much like me. She just wants to make people happy. So, yeah. And I think it does. I hope.
That's great. The movie's about to come out. Where will people be able to see it?
Well, right now it'll be in AMC theaters and we're still getting the theaters. So to find where there's a theater near you, if you go to onebighappyfamily.com, our website, and just type in your email address, we will send you where the theaters will be. Everything will be listed on our website, Instagram, Facebook, the usual.
We'll definitely share all the links in the show notes for this episode.
Yeah.
So are there a couple of things that come to mind, that crazy things that happened in real life that didn't end up in the movie, that you can share?
Gosh. Well, oh my gosh. Well, one of the coolest things I find, one of the first ways I found out that something was off with my DNA test was that it said I was only half Jewish, when in real life, I thought I was 100% Jewish. So that was the tip off that, okay, something is not right or something is wrong or different. Anyway, so a big story, both in the movie and in real life, was that the donor was not Jewish. He was Northern European. So I went on this journey based on that. And then I had found out years later through his birth family that he converted to Judaism for his third wife. So he actually died Jewish, and that he was buried in the cemetery next to my dad's cemetery in Long Island, in a Jewish cemetery. There's a place in Long Island where there's a ton of Jewish cemeteries. And so they're kind of next to each other. I mean, he didn't even die in Long Island, which is also weird. It's just that I think is such a cool, weird thing. But so many things have happened since then. I can't even tell you. But that's why I feel like I need a part 2, just because the story continues.
Sure.
But,
I mean, you had mentioned before, like, it was getting to be overwhelming and too much. Have you thought about, like, what are the next 5 years going to bring? Like, might you change your mind about certain things? Might you want to do some more exploring on the donor's side of the family?
At this moment, I feel like the donor is just part of my story. It's not something I'm seeking. I didn't go seeking for something to fill something within me, which I know a lot of people do take these tests feeling like something's not right. They don't connect to a parent. This completely came as a surprise. So I feel at this point, the donor really just was a means to an end for me to be brought into this world. And the more I learn about him as a person, I don't really like him very much. I've learned that he wasn't the best father to his families. And so if something comes up, it would be interesting to really know my medical history, the genetics of the medical side, because as of right now, I only know half of my medical history.
Right.
When I had my children, you have to do genetic counseling. It was just part of pregnancy. So I had like half my information for both my girls was not correct. So they don't really know. But then it's like, do I want to know if there were medical things happening? Because knowing me, because I'm so neurotic, it'll put it in my head, and then like suddenly I'll have whatever.
Right.
Right now, I'm not interested in really exploring. I think since I've joined a lot of these NPE Facebook groups, I do see that there is a lot of heaviness and sadness. And at this moment, I do want to tell my story to uplift. So yeah, I think that's that's my mission right now, is to just see that it could be seen differently. I was at a screening recently in Saratoga Springs, New York, and a woman had come to the movie not knowing what it was about. And it turns out she just found out that she's an NPE and she's probably in her 60s and was destroyed. She was actually crying to me, and she took my hand and she said, "But I see you're okay with it. Tell me I'm going to be okay."
Wow.
And I'm like, "You're going to be okay." And it was very heavy. And I was trying to give her advice of what to do next. And I reminded her that what you're seeing on screen, it is a dramatization. And it has taken me many, many years to get to the place where I'm okay with it. And it is just part of my story. And it does help you redefine what family means to you. Family's not always who you were born with. And it's a lot of times the people you choose to call your family and people who embrace you and that you embrace.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so I think, as you mentioned, you got on the Facebook groups and stuff. Was it surprising to you? Because it certainly was for me, like how open and embracing these communities are.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I haven't yet to post anything, but I'm reading a lot of the posts, and I see how it's so great. I didn't know about any of these groups when I first found out, and I felt so alone. So alone. The only person I could really connect with in this situation was my half brother, who we kind of found out together. A lot of the movie is about me and him. And yeah, so thankfully I had him going. My mom, she couldn't understand really why this was so important to me. Whereas other people are like, how could it not be the most important thing? So
Right.
it was so confusing. I went through the range of emotions, but I think it's so great that there are so many groups and websites that offer counseling, I think I would have really benefited from that when I found out.
Absolutely. It's the main reason why we still do this podcast and we get involved with the organizations and stuff. The community is so important. They're just there to lean on and listen to you when you cry and hold your hand. So I'm a board member of Right to Know. They help put on this semi-annual summit, which, spoiler alert, Lisa has agreed to be a keynote speaker at. I attended feeling a little bit like an outsider because it's Kendall who has the story. But we were put on a panel about social media and podcasts. Well, I do all of our social media. So I went in Kendall's place and I was immediately embraced by people. I mean, I could feel it as I walked through the lobby. It was just like, wow, I think it's going to be life-changing for you too, Lisa.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm not quite sure what being a keynote speaker entails, but I told my husband I have big keynote speaker energy now. So like, watch out.
Oh, so yeah.
I want to just tell my story and connect. Really, I feel like the connection that I have experienced, not only as someone who's gone through this, but to hear other people's stories as I've been traveling and doing these screenings, is incredible. So it wasn't until the screening I did last week up in Saratoga that someone said to me, it's really my age, that we're the first generation that have been through these IVF situations and that we weren't told. And to have all of these DNA tests suddenly explode at this time, it's like all of us are finding out at the
Yeah.
same time. I didn't realize it. I'm like, why is it suddenly happening? Why, I'm like, oh, it's a conglomeration of
Yeah.
two huge things.
Yes. The community is definitely growing, which means we need more projects like yours
Yeah.
and, more education and more support for people and more therapists trained in this type of trauma because it's, it's very, very real. But,
It's so
but
traumatic.
you definitely are doing your part, and thank you for that.
Yeah, well, thank you. I will just,
So important.
it's a journey.
So the last question that we like to ask on this podcast is, when you're deep in the feels and going through this, and maybe even as you were exploring through writing, is there a musical artist or a song that you lean on?
Oh my gosh. Wow. Gosh, I've been through so many. Well, just because you ask me right now, I'm obsessed with Hamilton.
Mm.
Oh, it really has nothing to do with the movie.
Yeah.
When I was writing, thank you for asking this. Okay.
Sure.
I had just happened to see, it was during the pandemic, and my little one had to watch with her art class this piece on an artist, Wayne Tybalt, his name was, and his art was all cakes and desserts. And they were whimsical and fun, and they're in the Museum of Modern Art. And you're like, why are there cakes? And basically, his whole thing was about looking at life with humor. And he said, when you lack a sense of humor, you lack a sense of perspective. And when I had the chills. When I was sitting on my couch writing the script, and I heard him say that, at that moment, I'm like, yes, that's how I look at the world. That's how I want to look at this situation. Because to look at it with a sense of humor, it takes all of the pressure off of it. It's like you're on the outside looking in. And that's what really helped me to deal with it. The insanity, the craziness. Let's all just laugh about this, because how wild can life be? And you be careful when you ask that, because life will throw you curveballs. But that was really my inspiration. Well, thank you for asking that.
Thank you for the story. That's wonderful. The arts are so important, especially for young people. Even if they don't end up going into the arts,
Yeah.
it will affect your life forever in such positive ways.
Yeah. And ways you never even thought of. Just
Right.
gets into your brain.
Yep.
Hamilton's in my brain.
See, now I'm going to have to go and listen to Hamilton again.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, it's great. It's been a while since I've listened to it. So
Yeah.
that'll be a nice change of pace.
Yeah.
Well, Lisa, just sending out all the good vibes for the release of the film. We're going to share it multiple times with our folks.
Thank you.
And looking forward to seeing it, and looking forward to meeting you in person next year.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Lisa, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. Your story and this film are proof that even when life throws us the biggest curveballs, we can find healing, connection, and yes, even laughter. One Big Happy Family opens in AMC theaters on Friday, October 3rd. If you're listening, go see it, and not just because it's funny and moving, but because it's also the final screen performance of the incomparable Linda Lavin. For Corey and me, she's always been a favorite, and it feels really special to celebrate her legacy through this film. We'll have links in the show notes so that you can find a screening near you. And as always, thanks for spending time with us here on Family Twist. Until next time, I'm Kendall. Take care of yourselves and your families, however they're made.
And remember, family secrets are the ultimate plot twist. The Family Twist podcast is presented by Savoir Faire Marketing Communications and produced by How the Cow Ate the Cabbage, LLC.